What if I told you could water your garden half as much, spend way less time weeding, grow healthier plants with less pests, and here's a biggie, help fight climate change? Sounds too good to be true, right? But that's exactly what regenerative gardening at home does. It works with nature instead of against it, and each year your garden gets more productive and it's easier to take care of. In part one, I shared with you what regenerative organic gardening is. In this video, I'm going to give you 7 techniques that you can use in your garden right now, whether you have 2 acres like me, a few raised bed gardens, or even just a few pots on the balcony. And here's the beautiful thing. You don't have to try all these 7 techniques at once. You can just try one this year and really perfect it, then add more later. Regenerative organic gardening is a journey. It's not a destination. We learn how to make our gardens better every single year. I'm Carol at Almost 2 Acres. Let's get practical and turn our gardens into regenerative ecosystems.
Technique number 1, start composting. If you only do one thing from this video, make it composting. This is the foundation of regenerative gardening and one of my favorite subjects too. By turning kitchen scraps, garden clippings, and yard waste into compost, you return nutrients to the soil rather than sending them to landfills. A mature compost pile contains billions of beneficial microbes and fungi that rejuvenate tired soil. For small spaces, use a small bin or tumbler. Try vermicomposting, which is worm composting, indoors. Look into bokashi composting for apartments. For larger gardens, create a 3-bin system for continuous composting. Build a simple pile in a corner of your yard. Use the hot compost method for faster results. What to compost? Kitchen scraps, vegetable peels, coffee grounds, eggshells. Yard waste, grass clippings, leaves, small twigs. Garden debris, spent plants, weeds without seeds, and shredded paper and cardboard. The golden ratio. Mix greens, which are nitrogen-rich materials like food scraps, with browns, which are carbon-rich materials like dried leaves, in about a 1-to-3 ratio. Keep it moist like a wrung-out sponge, turn it occasionally, and let nature work its magic. Give a heavy dose of compost once a year. Do this in spring or fall, spreading 1 to 3 inches over your beds. I often use leaf mulch in fall and other compost in spring. Technique number 2, practice no-till or low-till. No-till or low-till is probably the hardest habit to break if you're used to traditional gardening, but it is one of the most important. Tilling turns over and breaks up the soil, but the beneficial microbiome thrives in the dark seclusion under the earth. By upending this realm, all this life gets exposed to air and sunlight where it will likely die or weaken. Carbon is also released from the soil into the air. This is how to go no-till. Instead of tilling in spring, simply pull back mulch from last season, add a fresh layer of compost on top, 1 to 2 inches, plant directly into that, and mulch around plants. For new beds, use the lasagna method or sheet mulching. Number 1, lay down cardboard over grass and weeds. Number 2, layer compost, soil, leaves, and other organic matter. Number 3, let it break down for a few months. And 4th, plant into the rich soil that forms. Between crops, chop up the last season's spent plants and leave them over the soil to support conservation tillage. Minimally disturb the soil to maintain soil microbial communities and structure while preventing carbon loss. You might need to use a broad fork to gently loosen compacted soil without turning it over, but avoid the rototiller. Technique number 3, mulch everything. If composting is about feeding your soil, mulching is about protecting it. Mulching involves covering the soil with organic materials like wood chips, dead leaves, pine needles, or bark. This retains moisture, enhances soil quality, and prevents soil compaction. Your best mulch options. Wood chips, great for pathways and around perennials. Sometimes you can even get them free from arborists. Straw, perfect for vegetable beds. Get weed-free certified straw. Shredded leaves, excellent all-purpose mulch. Run your mower over all fall leaves. Grass clippings, good for nitrogen boost. Use thin layers. Pine needles, ideal for acid-loving plants. How to mulch. Apply 2 to 4 inches thick. Keep mulch away from plant stems. Leave a few inches of space. Refresh as needed, usually once a year in spring. As a general guideline, you should replace mulch once a year when it deteriorates to the point where soil is less able to retain moisture and you start to have more weed and erosion issues. This is important because mulch suppresses weeds, retains moisture, you'll water way less, moderates soil temperature, and as it breaks down, it feeds your soil. It's nature's blanket.
Before we get to technique number 4, please take this opportunity to like the video and make a comment. Do you compost? A simple yes or no will be just fine. Please don't forget to check out part 1 if you haven't seen it yet. That's where I explain what regenerative organic gardening is and why it is so very important.
Technique number 4, use cover crops. Cover crops are one of the most powerful regenerative tools, and they're easier than you think. Cover crops add valuable nutrients back to fallow raised beds and in-ground gardens. These green manures can also act as a living mulch, suppressing weeds. Here are some popular cover crops. Clover. It fixes nitrogen and has beautiful flowers for pollinators. Winter rye. It's hardy and great for fall planting. Buckwheat. It's fast-growing summer cover, excellent for building soil. Vetch. Nitrogen fixer, good winter cover. Oats. Quick summer cover, easy to terminate. Here's how to use them. Option 1, between seasons. After harvesting your summer vegetables, broadcast cover crop seeds, water them in, and let them grow through fall and winter. In spring, cut them down, don't till, and leave as mulch, then plant through it. Option 2, living mulch. Plant low-growing covers like clover between rows of taller crops. They suppress weeds and fix nitrogen while your main crop grows. Option 3, off-season beds. Any bed that won't be used for 2 to 3 months gets a cover crop. Never leave soil bare. The goal is simple. Keep living roots in the ground as much as possible, feeding that soil ecosystem. Technique number 5, build plant diversity. Nature doesn't do monocultures, and neither should we. Interplant different species together with as many plant varieties as possible in a single area. Practical ways to add diversity. Companion planting. Plant basil with tomatoes. Grow marigolds with vegetables. Interplant lettuce between slower growing crops. Three Sisters Garden. The classic Native American technique of growing corn, beans, and squash together. The corn provides a trellis, beans fix nitrogen, and squash shades the soil. Add perennials. Bring in perennial plants like fruit trees, herbs, shrubs, vines, and flowers into vegetable gardens. Perennials stay in the ground year-round with deep roots that feed the soil constantly. Mix annuals and perennials. Don't segregate your veggie garden from your ornamental beds. Mix flowers with vegetables, herbs with fruits. Create layers, tall plants, medium plants, ground covers. Plant guilds. Create mini ecosystems where plants support each other. For example, around an apple tree, comfrey for nutrients, nasturtiums for pest control, clover for nitrogen, yarrow for beneficial insects. Technique number 6, water smart. Regenerative gardening changes how we think about water. Regenerative gardening focuses on water retention and efficiency instead of watering daily and superficially. It's better to water deeply and infrequently to promote strong, drought-tolerant root systems. Here are some water-wise strategies. Harvest rainwater. Set up rain barrels under downspouts. Even in dry climates, you can capture significant water during rain events. Water deeply and less often. Instead of 10 minutes every day, water for 30 to 45 minutes once or twice a week. This encourages deep roots that can access water during dry spells. Use drip irrigation or soaker hoses. These deliver water directly to roots with minimal evaporation. Put them under mulch for even better efficiency. Build soil organic matter. This is the secret. Healthy soil with lots of organic matter acts like a sponge, holding water for plants. Compost can hold up to 20 times its weight in water. Create swales or berms. For larger properties, these earthworks capture and slowly infiltrate water instead of letting it run off. Technique number 7, welcome wildlife. A regenerative garden is a living ecosystem, and that means welcoming beneficial creatures. Encourage pollinators, beneficial insects, and wildlife in the garden to increase yield and reduce pest pressure. Here are 4 ways to attract beneficial wildlife. Here's my favorite. Plant flowers everywhere. Flowers in vegetable beds attract pollinators and beneficial predatory insects that eat pests. Good choices: yarrow, alyssum, calendula, zinnia, sunflowers. Second, provide habitat. Leave some areas a little wild. Create brush piles for ground beetles and small animals. Install bee hotels for native bees. Add a small water source, a bird bath or shallow dish. Third, skip all pesticides. Even organic pesticides like neem oil kill beneficial insects along with pests. Let nature balance itself. It takes time, but it works. Fourth, add animals if possible. Chickens are amazing for pest control and fertilization. Even a small flock makes a huge difference. Bees provide pollination. Ducks love slugs. Let me save you from some frustration by sharing the 6 mistakes I see most often. Mistake number 1, trying everything at once. Pick 2 to 3 techniques and master them first. Regenerative gardening is a marathon, not a sprint. Mistake number 2, being impatient. Soil building takes time. You'll see some improvements the first year, but the magic really happens in years 3 to 5. Trust the process. Mistake number 3, reverting to old habits. The hardest thing is resisting the urge to till just this once or use synthetic fertilizer when plants look stressed. Stay the course. You're building a system that takes time to establish. Mistake number 4, bare soil syndrome. If you see bare soil, cover it. Mulch, cover crops, or plant something. Bare soil is damaged soil. Mistake number 5, not keeping notes. Boy, do I mess this one up. Track what you do, when you do it, and how plants respond. Your garden is your best teacher, but only if you remember what you did. Mistake number 6, perfect weed control. Some weeds are actually beneficial. Dandelions, for example, have deep taproots that break up compacted soil. A little mess is okay. It's part of the ecosystem. Okay, I do this one really well, but maybe not on purpose. I bet you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed. Don't be. Here's your step-by-step action plan for transitioning to regenerative gardening at home. This coming season, start a compost pile or bin. Mulch your existing beds. Stop using synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. Next season, you start to build momentum. Try no-till in at least one bed. Plant a cover crop in one area. Add flowers throughout your vegetable garden. Year 2, if you want to go a little deeper, increase plant diversity, mix perennials with annuals, set up rainwater harvesting, adjust watering to deep, infrequent soaking. By year 3 and beyond, you start reaping rewards. By now, your soil should be noticeably better. Keep building on these practices, observe what works in your specific conditions, and share what you learn. Remember, regenerative gardening isn't about producing food. It's about restoring the land, sequestering carbon, nurturing pollinators, and building a future where gardens heal rather than harm.
Until next time, start envisioning what your permaculture regenerative garden is going to look like, and then get planning. Soon we'll be growing.